Hi, welcome to Faith Uncovered. This is a podcasting series performed by a group of 8th grade students at Grand Haven Christian. We have pastors, missionaries, teachers, and so many others who have experienced God's hand in their lives. So take a seat and join us as we discuss and reveal God's work in our world.
Hello and welcome to Faith Uncovered, Episode 11. My name is McKay, and today we are going to hear about the faith journey of Jaeger, who is a father, strong Christian, and my amazing youth leader. Keep listening to hear how he came to know Christ, his struggles through his faith journey, and how he grew and overcame. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Grand Haven. I went to Grand Haven Christian School my entire childhood, and Western Michigan Christian for high school. I became a Christian during my high school years through attending Lakeshore Baptist Church and coming to the youth group. And I had a very godly grandmother who looked out for me my entire childhood. And I went to college at Pensacola Christian down in Florida, where I met my wife, and with her we've had 4 kids together. Even to this day, this whole time I've been going to Lakeshore Baptist Church, and we homeschool our 4 kids, and I like Swedish fish.
When were you first introduced to the gospel?
Well, because I went to Christian school my entire life, the gospel was constantly taught to me through Bible classes and me going to church and things like that, but the gospel itself really didn't sink into my heart until I became a teenager years later. So I was introduced as a child through school and through church, but later on the conversion happened as a high schooler.
Have you ever struggled with your faith, and how did you overcome those struggles?
So I think as a young person, when I first became a Christian, I would struggle with my faith at times because I was probably too engrossed with personal struggles and sins that screwed up my relationship with God, and God wasn't the problem and my faith wasn't the problem. It was just I was letting sin become too much of a part of my life, too much love for the world and not enough love for God. So how did I get past that? Basically just putting my focus back where it belonged, on God who saved me and God who created me, and by reading his word and loving him more than the world. That's the only way you could really overcome those struggles.
So how have you seen your faith change over time?
Well, I have 4 kids, and I have to say my first child really helped to push me in my faith. As I was a young parent, I would see my first child, make mistakes and disobey and push back against me as a parent, and which is totally normal. But I would feel guilty and convicted in that I would say words with my mouth like, how many times do I have to tell you to do X, Y, Z? And then I'd be convicted because I would look at myself in the mirror and say, this is probably how God views me, because I'd make the same mistakes over and over again, and yet he still loves me. And so,
How have you seen God move in your life?
Well, again, my kids continue to come up with conversation, but my son, who's now 21 years old, was born disabled, and that was a big stone in our lives as parents, having to deal with a disabled child who's in a wheelchair. And yet through the whole process we've seen God move, answered prayers, God providing for finances and means all along the way that we never knew how they were going to come about, but he always was faithful to us. And then as the kids got older and grew into their teen years, God again has been faithful and proving himself true and faithful and providing for all the things that we needed during those more difficult years.
Has anybody influenced your faith, and who was it?
So I would say as a child, my grandmother was a big influence on me and my brother's lives. We didn't see her a lot, but in hindsight, looking back now, we know that she was always praying for us and looking out for us. And it's an inspiration to me because I want to be the same way with my grandchildren, and it's just neat to see how years later you don't realize as a kid how others are looking out for you and trying to lean into your life and push you toward God, but there are people like that. And there have been people at church as well, then in the church, who have looked out for me and kept an eye on me over the years, and I didn't realize it so much at the time, but I do now, and I really appreciate that.
So, what is your favorite Bible verse?
My favorite Bible verse is probably Romans 8:28, which says, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. And I like this verse because despite what happens in the world around me, what happens with my kids, what happens in the world, I know that God has a purpose and a plan for everything, that nothing happens by chance, and that I'm in the hands of a good Father.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you were encouraged by Mr. Jaeger's story. Make sure to check out the next episode where Tessa Orr interviews Emily Summers.